Good morning everyone, this is my video analysing a particular artifact for my teaching class, which I intend to use in my teaching practice in some shape or form. So my idea is to record songs on my guitar here and to record basic maths concepts at Year 8 level, which is the level I've had teaching placement at, and upload them onto an online platform called Edmodo, which is a website I actually used at high school level myself with my teachers and my other classmates as well. It's a platform where teachers and students can interact together professionally, as teachers can upload assessments and the students can work through that, and and it's also a means for the student and the teacher to interact immediately, get that immediate feedback, but in a professional sense. And so I intend to upload these recordings on there so that students who may be finding it difficult to engage in class, such as people with cerebral palsy, which is the condition I had to study in my class, or I studied in class, and who find it a little bit harder to keep up in class than others. They don't really get things straight away, not as quickly as some people might. And so if they're finding class a little bit difficult to engage with, then they can interact with the online platform where they have the songs. They can learn the concepts by song, and they can also interact with certain activities on the Edmodo website and then send their feedback to me directly. So that was my description of my physical artifact. The next section is on why particularly am I using this. So a little bit of background history. I was homeschooled from primary to year 5, and what that allowed us to do was to come up with some different ways of learning things, some more engaging, more I guess active ways of learning things that you probably wouldn't find at school, in having to teach in front of a whole class, as opposed to myself learning with family. And so what we did was, instead of learning our times tables just by rote learning, is that we learnt it by song. And so instead of learning saying 4 times 9 is 36, like that's kind of boring, and so instead we learnt it by song, saying 4 by 7 is 28, 4 by 8 is 32, and 4 by 9 is 36. And so you learnt it to a particular song, which I intend to replicate in my teaching practice, as I found it quite easy to learn the times tables when I learnt them by song, because it becomes no different to learning lyrics to a song, pretty much. I intend to record those up to my onto the Edmodo website, which is a platform which, as I said, it's a professional platform where students and teachers can engage together directly, rather than just in class, and then when you're at home or on the weekend and you need you need to ask a question, then you can send it into Edmodo, and then you get that direct feedback. Basically, in a nutshell, is that I find songs are a very easy way to learn basic maths concepts. When it comes to more advanced stuff, more complex stuff, then obviously it becomes more difficult. But at the Year 8, Year 9 level, it's very easy to learn basic maths concepts, such as like measurements, learning your measurements of your units of measurement, such as micrometers, millimeters, centimeters, meters, and then you want to learn like which order they go in, and by what order of magnitude. Is it 10 to the minus 3? Is it 10 to the minus 9? And so by learning it by song, then it becomes easy. So that's the main thing I found, and the Edmodo I find is a very professional way of interacting with the student directly, and by posting stuff online as well, so that the students can interact with it online in a place where they feel more comfortable, where they can take their time, and I can obviously track their progress through that too. So to begin my critical analysis of my artifact, I want to relate a podcast that I listened to off the NCCD website, which involved an interview with a boy named Will who had cerebral palsy, and it also included an interview with his teacher, his principal, and his parents as well. So I found that really useful, as it provided a lot of insight into actually how people with cerebral palsy cope in class, and also how the parents cope, because obviously it has a knock-on effect, how the students cope with students who have, how the teachers rather cope with students like Will who have cerebral palsy in their class, how they deal with that, how they provide those extra resources for them. And so the main thing I found was that people with cerebral palsy, they don't naturally get things as quickly as people who do not have cerebral palsy have. And so I find that's a very good reason to include an online resource, is that you want to include as many opportunities for them as possible. Like, obviously in a physical sense, if they have a wheelchair, you want to include tables that are readily adjustable in height, and so they can actually sit at them. You might also want to include like a sliding board, a slanted board on a slant, so that they can put their paper on the on the board, and they can actually do it without the paper sliding and without them having to lean over. But this online tool is very useful in wanting to get students like Will who have cerebral palsy so that they can go through things in a more comfortable sense, because going to class also comes with anxiety sometimes, and you've got to be obviously very sensitive, so you've got to be very careful around that. And I'll be working very closely with the parents as well, just to make sure that that the student is comfortable. They can still turn up in class if they want to, but the online tool is there for them if they're finding things a bit difficult, like they couldn't really keep up. The main thing I want to talk about with them is possibly after class, is talk to them about how well my teaching was, like how engaged were they in the class. So to relate it back to the artifact at hand, I find it important to have an online presence through the online tutorials, as it makes it a lot easier for the students to access the resources. And so using Edmodo, I can upload assessment tasks and recordings of songs as well, and through that they can learn at home in a more comfortable environment, and they could even learn with if their parents, if they need clarification, or if they ever need any more clarification from me, then they can text me through Edmodo, and I'll be able to respond to them almost straight away within a couple of hours, which I find is very important, because when students have difficulty learning, particularly like over the weekend or like after school, they want that immediate kind of feedback. And so in order to get that, then Edmodo really helps with that. And just to sum up my points, I find that the artifact I'm using can be really handy for students, particularly students like Will. I don't want to single out any, like cerebral palsy being the only condition. It is the one that I studied in my class, so it's the one that's most prevalent to me. But there are other people who may not be able to engage in my classes for any other range of reasons. And I would intend to talk to the parents in that sense, in order to get more of a picture of how can I help them in teaching, and keep with regular contact with the parents in a friendly sense, because I find a lot of teachers nowadays, the only time they ever contact the parents is during parent-teacher interviews, and so that's only like twice a year, which is not enough at all. And any other sense would be if they're getting poor marks and all that. But I intend to keep a regular sense with the parents, in order to paint the picture of how can I support their learning. Because I want to, I'm more than just a teacher for them. I want to be there to support them and, make them feel included and comfortable in class. And so, in order to do that, the online tool can be very helpful, if they're not really being able to like follow in class, that they can do it at home. I might invite them to take a free period where they can probably learn they can go through the content like in the library or something in their own time in the free periods. I'd speak to the principal about this obviously initially, but that'd be the main goal, is to make them feel, is to provide as many resources to people as possible. And I find that online tutorials can be very resourceful in doing that. So that concludes my artifact analysis video. Thank you for watching.